Mm-hmm.
I want to follow. I want to see follow today.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh. I'm unstoppable. I'm invincible. Nobody can stop me. Okay. What does that mean to you when you play a tune inside line center and it feels location and calculation? How powerful are you from inside? Really listen to the things over and over and over and over. It's like somebody gives you a connections to a song and they say, whoa, it's repeating over and over and over and over and over. So it's kind of like you want to have the same day, you know exactly what you just finished hearing. Okay. So it's about understanding how powerful you are is all calculated and modify how you use locutions. Today in class, we're going to try out the line centers of number sequence patterns, code weavings, and code framings. You really have to understand how to use your line communications into your number sequence. Number channels identification how the avatar sets signals. It also knows exactly what it's doing through position and directions. When you go more inside, then you start to accept a lot more. And then you go into more levels inside. And then you go into more levels of deep core line centers. And then you keep going and going and going and going and going and going. Okay. You constantly keep going more inside. That's where you start recognizing how real it is. Okay. Eyes are the windows to the line condition position. All levels how you see your eye centric communication system. So it's all levels. And these are the things you have to focus on. Focus on you. Focus on the clarities of you. Focus on the new chapters of you. Focus on the new beginnings of you. Focus on your seventh dimensional moon of you, because that's where it's in track locations, right? So this is a really balancing out emotional line and your human resonance line stream. It's all position, location, and directions, right? So these are the things you want to follow. Okay. Also, too, after class, we're gonna have a Zoom ASAP right after, where you guys are in calculations and how you feel. This is about where you fit in with the team. Do you stay or do you go? All right. Simplifies everything because we've already done this surrender. Okay. It's all based on two questions. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more. Because there are people that are basically saying, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, you have to know. Okay. And that's why this Zoom is all levels of for you to understand. How important is it for you to understand the team? How important is it for you to be on the team? How important is it for you to understand everything that's going around the team? It simplifies everything, right? So after today, you'll know where you stand with yourself and the team. All right. So because I was stating, what is a way where we don't want to open another portal communication, right? Because we've already talked about the surrender. So you already know what the surrender is. This is just a confirmation that you want to be part of something and you're willing to do anything. Okay, I was watching a very powerful movie last night, Communication Clock Line Center. Steve Jobs, right? Anybody that came at him and didn't believe in him and his connections to all levels of Apple computers was gone. He knew he had a mission. He knew his journey. He wasn't thinking of the destination because it was already in the process of knowing. Knowing thyself. That is a trajectory location just on its own system. Okay? It's the calculations of you inside. Okay? The unconditional of you inside. Okay? Reaching so many levels of deep core of recognition of you. Put you in a higher division, especially when you're on the other side. Right? So that's going to help you in all ways and forms. Right? So before we get started, let's wish Eric Hale a happy birthday. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eric. Happy birthday to you. And many more. All right. Happy birthday, Eric. All right. So back in calculations, we're going to get into fragmentation line streams. Calculation line interference. The basic understanding how to communicate to your number sequence patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So you know that song when I was a kid back in line center interference location and calculation, I was aware, but I was awake. I was going through line positions. It's like that sound barrier that keeps coming on. It's those rhythm patterns, audio interference location calculations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know? So try to use that as a form of communication. Build that relationship with you first, then you find a partnership with your system, and then you find a friendship relationship partnership with your numbers, letters, shapes, and symbols. Step by step by step by step by step. All right. So you can channel position locations into 1 to 5. So let's say 1 is communicating. So 1's communicating with 5, but 5's not understanding 4, but 4 is trying to understand but 3. 3 is an offline signal location of 2. There's a conversation right there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say you communicate with 1 line center interference. Okay, so 1 is offline calculation, right? But 2 is indecisive. But I know 3 is in balance. But 4 is not sure of where it is in track location. But 5 is now line signaling. It's all levels of communication. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So this is a true understanding. When you travel through line centers, it's all positioned in mind how it sets signals. So you start with your 12 DNA line center, and you have 12 locations, all right? All right, so let's just start with that. We're going to have a conversation. Travel connections and code signals. Dimension line centers. We'll go into the division location and fall line. Center communications into the high centers. High center communications of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Center communication code signals. Code reference line channel. Box line center locations times calculation over line. Trifactors, tri-stands, stands point of view through 5 line center rotations of 4 line center locations, 3 balance communication of 2 circles. The 2 circle locations in 1 division, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's all levels of confirmation line connections, right? So division line connection, dimension, all levels, interdimensional locations, high center to galactic, intergalactic locations, AI tech, set position code signals, get them travel locations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so tapping finger line center locations. Here we go. Set location, travel through. All signal location, go. All right, you guys are all traveling through 1 to 12 DNA line streams. All right, so you're calculation high centers. All positions go, calculation system. Now, to understand, the importance is understanding how to use the zero graph. Zero graph location, center communication line system. Point dot communication, right? Into your magnetic high line centers. So there's 3 dot line center rotation interference. It directs locations into 1 line signal, line in position. Remember I was saying, what is a line? A line is a communication inside of you. It's how you balance out your position locations into your left and your right connection. Okay. So it's all levels of what? Center communication is U-line position location into your yin and yangs. Yin yang process of flux capacity, position locations, volumes, and its velocity, position location of directions. Center communication into the line connections of a tripod communication system. Right? So the left line center is opening up right wing communication system, opens up sonar communications into line center balance communication system. So there's all different ways of communicating with your number of frequencies, number of patterns. When the avatar is in line communication of balance and it's fully crossed over in all signal locations, starting to understand how to use the mainstream connections. And then you understand what this is, and then you understand what this is, and then you understand what that is, and then you understand what this is, and understand what this is. All in calculations. These are lines, but they're all communication. So, right, in that position, location, or directions. Now they're separated, they're not communicating with each other until they understand line signals. So you got 1 line center, frame line, rotation, interference. But see, the factoring line center, frame position location is already calculation. So this is how I see position locations in 1 line signal and 1 graph line communication system through 1 line. So you have to go beyond that future communication line system. Now, this is a two-line stream position locations into two row graph line centers into a location, two-line streamline system. Now, in that calculation, that's just a point dot line stream. A point dot line stream line center location is position locations of one point line system into one stream location going through. See? Now, that is a line cross line. Now, line cross line is basically all line center. Okay? So you're crossing over, okay, in the location positions. It's like a rain track, railroad, position, location, direction, right? 4 different line connections, all through position, sequences, sonar, volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes of information. So this understands line connection all levels when you go to alpha chain communication, line center, interference location, high center, whether position location is a 3M communication system, time locks, time interference, a triangle communication system, timeline sequence and position location directions, set signals and cross-line connections and position locations, upline channels, cross-line streamline center rotations into arrow communication system. So centering communication line scene sets line position location directions. So you got an alpha line wave equal locations of 1 equals location of 7 location equals 8. All right. So you got an alpha channel line center equals 1 equals 7 equals 8. So the 8 center line center location comes into location of its crown chakra communication system. Okay. So getting into that formation line connection is to understand more levels of view, right? So, like I said, you want to have a relationship with your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. But the only way to do that is to understand the deep core of what you're doing through communication. Let's say 7 is my favorite number, obviously, right? 7, right? I'm going to have a full conversation just with 7, okay? So, what you have to understand is the angle of 7, the correlation of 7, how the 7 is set up. Okay. So this is a true understanding. When you look at 7, it's not the letter 7. Okay. It's everything of information of 7. Okay. 7 line channels up, 7 line channels down, 7 line channels across location, position, and direction, 7 division line position locations, alphabetical line connections. 7 directions of signals in high center, all through 7. That's communicating. So it's communicating in all ways and forms and all calculation to all line center, all at once, in all direction. Okay. Setting signal locations, 7 line channels, 7 equals channels. That's 1. Okay, 7 sequence patterns. That's 2. 7 line division. That's 3. 7 cross signals. That's 4. 7 divide location. You see where I'm going with this? And this is all through 7. To recognize patterns is to understand the identity location of number sequence. It opens all channel communication system. Okay, so it's very powerful when you reach these things, right? 7 equals box. 7 divisions over factor. Okay, it just goes on and on and on. So it's really understanding these things, guys. It's very powerful when you really connect to everything that you need to understand all levels of 7. 7 is not a number. Okay, so 7's number, not a number. That means 8 is not a number. That means 9 is not a number. That means 10 is not a number. That means 11 is not a number, and that means 12. Okay, so 11 cross streams. I'm going to have a conversation, framing center location all lines into a magnetic highway information system of streaming line centers of telepathy for all communications to all line centers, to all calculations to its number sequence pattern, right? 11 line channels, 8 line rotation interference. infinity cycle communication to 10 communication of its galactic signature. Okay, 1 zero-line communication to 7 channel position operation to 9 division, all through 11, 8, 10, 7, and 9. Comes into triangulation. Hoo-ah. So it's really understanding that line communications of what you're doing in the first place, right? So I love that quote where 6 had 7, but what happened to 8? But 8, 8, 9. So if 8, 8, 9, what happened to 10? 11, 10 line crossed its position, location, directions, and forced the communications back into 12. But 12 isn't that the central center communication of cycles? So if it's the cycle location, that means 1 is back in calculations all opposite its ground center. So having a conversation every single time with your number sequence pattern gets you in a better calculations why you get these numbers in codes. Code referencing, code weaving, code clocking, code divisions, right? It's center its communication system, all levels of triangulation, okay? All right, so how are we doing already? How's everybody doing? The energy is really good in here. That's great. Barbara, Commander, Tina, Linda, Yolanda, Cami, Jill, Jojo, Jeanette, Bender, Heather, Annabelle, Pam, Lindsay, Don, Ashley, Low Jess, Ginger, Guardian, Sarah, Peacemaker. All right. Well, the thing is, too, are you prepared? Because you'd already know what you're doing through your travel locations, so it's a lot more easier. Sunny, how you doing? Ginger, Val, David. Okay. Galactic Star. Just going through the location of the list lines. So when you really understand more, when you're saying things to yourself, they're actually communicating back with you. Okay? So you have to be ready for anything on that line position, especially when you get balance of frequencies to that calculation system. So, all right, so getting a better understanding, once you get a number sequence patterns and communication system, it gives you better division locations of where you're coming lines. Okay? Coming in the right direction locations directs you through all signal location of patterns. But having a conversation with your letters, numbers, and shapes gets you in point of view, point of traction, point of division, point of calculations, times calculation, times pi. So as a position where you have understand the line connections, let's say you have a pi position location direction, you get 7 in center. There's a pi within 7. So the center communication is already line communicate, but didn't want to travel through 24. 24 starts here. Okay, so you get a 24 line division, clock locations, and line connections into 3. See, this is where it's interesting. Okay, remember I told you use 12 as a reference. You can use the clock system as a reference, but don't bring it 4 locations. Once you reach higher level system, and the more you bounce your clock locations, you can have 20 or above and 3 locations into the sideline communication, which is the east line connection. This is the west line connection, which line connection is all levels of 6. Center communication lines of 9. But wait a minute, I thought 9 was supposed to be here. No, it doesn't have to be. It's where you are through travel location, your thought line, and what you're creating location, your image, and position of directions, right? So the 3 can move all lines centered to here. 9 can move up here to position locations, and your 6 can cross signal location into the other line center. Okay, there's so many levels that you have to understand how to read signals. So it's all about understanding how to vortex your number sequence patterns. Each number can vortex anything channel. So you get 1 line connections equals vortex connection, right? 1 equals vortex. Now that V line center comes into velocity, okay? Velocity comes into position location, that 3 line into position to flux capacitor. sets line communication of zero gravity location. Zero gravity comes to the center operation I system. Position location directions, sets a new signal location to its ground center, opens a new platitude division location to its ground interference location of its grid line center interference. Now the grid interference drops signal location to one line communication. See how I communicate through every letter, number, shape, and symbol, all through velocity of acceleration, all through one? Do you see how powerful that is? That's having a conversation with communications just with what you want. Because everything I do through the mind of travel line center is all line center location inside position. So this is one line center. I can change the velocity into volume or position locations into higher level system. So it's important you understand how to use all levels of U through tone. Your senses and your sensories to send more calculation to its modification line conditions. It gets you in a better plateau to its division. So, all right. So we go through 7 line center and line center. Okay, so 7 line center, 7 line center, 7 line center, 7 line center. All right, and then you go again, 7 line through a circle location. Right? So, and then you go through a circle location, right? Upline signal. Okay, downshift line communication of 7 into down cross location into over position location to its line connection of diamond core, all through 7 line of a point system. Okay, so your connection is 3 waving signals because you're interlining its communication of 7-1 in center line connections or 7 line communications into its calculation of 0 into point location, which puts it in 3 locations. 3 equals communication. Okay? Do you see how powerful we are when you go to the mind communication system and then you really understand? Right? You're using telepathy on every single level of structure of frame. This gives you out of being decisive. This helps you and always informs of what you're doing through your numbers of communication, especially if you're getting into this. Okay, these are balanced. Okay, this is off. So how do I get this into 4? Right? So 4 line communications, 4 lines in line center, up signal locations. So 4 line center comes in line center, positive position. What happens in 4? If you're in a clock location, equal line connection is 5. So 5 line channel comes into 4 line communications, down cross line center, circle its position location, brings it up to 5 position. Okay. Now you got 4 atmosphere line connections, right? 4 seasons, 4 individual locations, times 1 line, okay, into 5 location, 5 by 5. Now you take all 3 position locations, 5 by 5, center communication into its line connections, and you bring it up to high position location to 5 because it's equal line connections of 5 by 5. Even line position of balance on left and right and center location of U in calculation system puts you into 5 5 by 5, all through 4 4 4 1. But you have to learn how to use the positive, negative, and everything line connections, right? You have battery of communication, positive here, right? And you got negative here, positive, negative, right? So the line communication is communication, right? Now, understand that connections, it can go up, or it can go down, or it can go to the side, or go to the other side connections. So it's coming into north line, or it's going into east line, it's going into west line, or it's going into south line. All through positive negatives of 2 line connections of 2 batteries. So having a conversation with that, right? But you really, really have to understand these things, right? It's not just communicate with your families and loved ones, and you know, it's all about having conversations with everything. Having a conversation with calculations to your hand, right? So is the hand, the center communications off calculations, right? So this is offline position. How do I bring this back up? Well, what's happened right now is it's off signal, right? Inline connection, right? So the only thing you can do is to bring it up in adaptation is understand the three connections to its one position, which is your moon. You take the four track line connections, you integrate locations back into one, brings it back into five communication, into information, back in balance, all through information. So really have conversations with these things. That's where you have to understand that position of directions, right? Hold on a sec. See, it's a beautiful thing. You didn't ever think it was possible to really just have a conversation, not just with yourself, but what the importance is to having that conversation with yourself. So the more you go in the deeper core levels of you, the more you understand how powerful it is to communicate with numbers and how it represents to you. Every single time you get up in the morning. So, all right. That's right. Very good job, Water Boys. Very good. 9 degrees, so I missed the right turns of the time. And then you ask yourself, wow, I just communicate with my numbers. That's bizarre. Where do you think the information comes from? Inside you. Always, always inside. You never ever see time from outside. It's inside of always you. So, and this is how it sees you through energy, vibration, and frequencies and harmonics. Code signal line connections. Let's say you get a pass line. Okay, pass equals line, right? Line equals pass. Okay, equals locations of rail equals locations of communication. Right? So understand that connection is line communications of times pi. Pass line underscore. Over drop. Over connect. So pi comes in always in forms through calculation. Okay? So your pass lining reference. Okay, and the line is basically equalize its location of pass equals location of its rail of its communication. So, I mean, there's so many different ways. It's all about having conversations with everything, not just with what you're connecting to. I mean, literally second by second by second by minute by hour by day. You'd be amazed what you pick up when you communicate with letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, and how it represents to you. It's going to determine on how your day goes. Guaranteed. You can literally have a conversation and get the answers that you need for the day. You have a 24-hour dayline center all set up for you. Communicate with your clock. and give you the answers. So what you want, and on any level, any thought that comes in line communication. Let's say you lost a signal. Let's say you lost a watch. You can look at the clock, and the clock can give you the answer of where your watch is or where you left it. See, that's what you guys are not verified through, because you're getting numbers that are coming at you, but you have no idea what they mean. Right? So it's a better understanding what that is in calculation, because it modifies all levels of you in the singularity of the simulation of you. So, codes equals equation, bracket center, 0 position into 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so yeah, they're saying all these zeros and why they're all indicated into one position. Why isn't the one over here? Why is it here? Why is there 4 zeros? What's the equation? Why is there a bracket? Why? So understanding how to use the codes of you is the how. Right? So each letter has its own connection through its dimensional setting. Code referencing, code frequency locations, right? Communication or operation, division, energy of system, codes. So once you understand that, one track location, you underscore it. You box it position, location, directions, right? So that's just having a conversation with that line. I showed you on 4 different line communications how it's all created through waves. You got one wave line center, you got one smaller communication, you got one big line communication into one line center interference. 3 different ways, 4 different ways, 5 different ways, 6, 7, doesn't matter. What matters, do you understand what's going on with the flow of communication? Do you understand what's going on in this story? You are a story of information, right? Line signal, line interference locations. Underline, there's an underline here, but there's a hill here, and there's a hill here. So, different conversation locations. 3 channels of operation. Heart, mind, soul. See? The sacral, sacral. 3 waving channels of operation positions. Okay? That's the one wave in communications to a delta line connection. That's a delta wave communication of 3333. So, getting that calculation system of stream center, you got a smaller line connection, right? So it indicates underscore, right? Because it's like this. It's low, right? Low, medium, high. Basic understanding, guys, is this is how you look at life. Low, medium, high. Right? Medium is position locations. Medium equal line centers. 5 equals locations. A 1 line center and position directions. So this is where you can use multiplication line centers. You can use that, but you don't use it in math. You tutelage, the connection to the line connection is trying to understand how to use it in all frames of balance of its scale. Right? Because anything through 5 times 1 is the number, which is 5, right? But you don't use it as math. You use it as a map of equation to get your answer inside connection. So once you're in the medium cycle, you circle location. Once you're in the circle location, you come into the yin and yang process communication. Right? So 5 times 1 is 5 line center in the medium cycle. Yin and yang process of communications balance the connections to the lower and the higher line connection. So there's so many ways to communicate with everything inside you, all through frame. If you get one graph center, you got a low division location equals location of high though. But I thought low was here. Well, low equals high. I've already traveled through it. I don't need to start here because it's already here. You see the communication how it comes in? Very quick, very fast. I don't need to indicate anything through arrow up because it's already done in its equation. So, and that's a true understanding when you come to line connections where physics 101. It doesn't have to be physics 101. It can be physics 1 million. Okay? To understand numbers is to understand the identity of its number, which is the identity of its frame, which is the identity of its story, which is the identity of its diagram, which is the identity of its manifestation, which is the identity of its abundance, which is the identity of its telepathy. To communicate is to understand the telepathy of what you're communicating with is the importance, all right? The importance of understanding what 7 is. So if I understand 7, U equals 7, right? 7, okay, understands. Okay. U equals 7, 7 understands. Okay. 7 equals locations of 10. So 7 is already understanding, right? And then I can change the frame. I could say the unified equals location of 7. So my unified self is now equal location of 7 channels. That is an already of understanding how to communicate with 7 equals 10. Because I already stand all levels of 7. Do you see a basic conversation? It's amazing when you just concentrate on yourself more. The more you go in so many deep levels of you really, really start to connect everything around you. But it's all inside you. So I just had a conversation with the unified line center location of 7 division location high centers. So I totally understand how to get 7 equal locations of 10. Right? That's telepathy with numbers, letters, and shapes and symbols, guys. It's all through harmonics. Harmonics is extremely complicated because now you're talking about graph and where it's coming from. Right? Here, here, or here, the vibration, the frequencies. Right? So line communication in position of directions starts here. Okay? Center communication is always in operation system locations. See how it measures? Low, medium, high. Right? Calculation system locations. See how that works? Stepping stones. 3 communication XT1000 line communication line streams. All right. Center cylinders. Direct location, position of time. That's getting complicated. So it's climbing step line center locations. But there's 3 line center. There should be 4. Well, there isn't 4 because there's only 3 waveline communication of 3 graphs. But I can add line center locations into past communication, which is already done line center. So to understand line center interference locations, you have to backclock. You have to backclock. See? You have to backclock. Then you can bring into another graph location. Right? So that centers its communication right here. Oh, yeah. See how that works? All through harmonics. Balance up the stairs. But you have to understand the past reference line at backclock location so you can bring everything forward in line communication just of a stair line. All through telepathy. So it's really incredible when you start connecting more line connections of yourself, right? This gives you all levels of volume, right? How much is in volume at each step is its equivalent locations of E equal M center location, MC square location. So you balance communications, it comes into high line connections of a road. Road cross line center locations, it changes the position location of its directions into all levels out of a graph location into a matrix strip line stream. Comes in center communication system. So it's very powerful when you do these things. Okay. Line connection is extremely, extremely powerful. Setting signals in high center interference. But when you see things through graph, it's amazing how it changes all levels of direct location of its frame, of its story. Story frames is all central system. It's all levels how you use your position of your past, your direct locations. Let's talk about locations here. Direct locations. Okay. Past, present, and future. These are the things you look at every single day. See, it's not just being here, it's understanding how to be here. It's not just here, it's the future. So, future comes into the center, future comes into the down center line connections, future change position location on a line. There it is, right? Triangulation and position locations into 3 communications into triangulation. Future of its relation. Future, 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 future. And that's all low locations in position and perception of the alphabetical system of P. Do you see how it's so important to communicate with these things with your alphabetical line connections of 26,000 lines? So you really, really have to pay attention to all levels. Because the thing is, when you're acting, your avatar is the mind location, right? But the reaction is the physical line, which is basically you're seeing things through feeling, your sensories, you're picking these things up. So remember we're on live on TikTok and I told you just close your eyes. And at the last second when you're blasting off from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I said, okay, open up a thought, come to a thought, the first thing that comes to mind, boom, you feel it, the energy, you feel the image, you feel the structure, you feel the connection, you feel the communication, you feel the color, you feel the intelligence, you feel the activation, you feel the story, and you see the vision. That's it. So to understand how to use telepathy is only use it when you are in correlation of a thought, okay, at the last minute before you blast off. It's already stored here, but if you store it too early, it could get out of balance, out of bound, out of communication, out of sync with yourself or anything else in line connection. Okay? So that means is you're not seeing the reaction of what's going on through the action of your avatar, of what it's doing. And it's so powerful because you're trying to connect more levels of you inside. It's like, I don't get it. It's not making any sense to me. Because you don't want it to make any sense. Because you don't know how to communicate with your word phrasing, your word diagrams, your word anagrams, your word programs, your word structures, your word images. This doesn't come to mind. You guys have to get out of the box and understand everything around the box, which is everything from inside out. Inside first. And then you understand all communications, all line positions, all direct locations, all dimensional line connection of systems through communication. See? Communication. See the see? Communication to the circle line and point line center, 4 box line rotation to everything communication opposition. See? That's how you communicate through telepathy. The telekinesis is basically pushing line connections, again, with the 7. It's a 7. So, to understand 7 is to understand the energy of 7, to understand the form of 7, to understand the vibrations of 7, to understand the colorations of 7, the intelligence is 7, the activations of 7, the clockings is 7, the high force line communication, the walls is 7, the balance communication, the metric interference location of 7, the ground line center, the program setting locations of 7, all through 7. So is 7 a number? No. Everything that is given to you is a story frame. It's a film projector of you through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. And that's how you determine what is going to happen with your day and a 24 signal. Okay? So, interesting when you look at these things. Say, what does 7 mean? Why is it so powerful? I'm starting to understand this. Well, that's great. You're understanding it more. That's giving you a better understanding of why it's so important for you, because it's all connected to you. And you see these numbers coming at you every single day, right? So you get connections to this, an online center, location division, location to calculations. It's all levels of channel, center communication system, time stream interference, central line communications, offline connections. These are the things you have to see yourself as a representation. Okay? It's important you understand how to use yourself, how to calculate, modify, how to use locations of just through numbers, right? Just numbers alone, not letters, not shapes, not symbols, just numbers. Start with numbers first, and then it gets easier of what you're seeing through calculations. You get a better understanding too, because you can use a 7 as a conversation to a shadow line. What is a 7 conversation to a shadow line? What does that have to do with number 7? Well, that you're communicating with, right? It's trying to figure you out. So this is how you work location, especially when you come into calculations all lines, when you come into your shadow works, right? You can communicate with the 7 and try to get the answers of why it's so important, what 7 is to you. Is it a birthday? Is it a date? Is it a memory? See? So now you understand the important location of what 7 is. What is 7? Why is 7 so important to me? 7 is the communication to all universe line centers of all positions in direct line system of me, all through form. So, and then you go into 6. What is 6? Well, what is 6? What is the communication of 6? Well, you got to look at the connection, how it's set, right? How it's set location of its grounds, how it's set location of its circle, and how it's set location of its swirl, right? Swirl, circle, grounds, right? 7, okay, has an upswing, okay, to a down line, to a balanced position of ground location. So to understand how to use this in all ways and forms is going to help you more how to use your telepathy of telekinesis and what you're doing. All right. This is going to get you a better track center with yourself. The more you reach lines of higher communication, the more you understand how amazing it is just to understand the number sequence patterns of you inside location. And you all do it through clocking. 1 has a clocking, 2 has a clocking, 3 has a clocking. Everything has a clocking of travel, which means everything is traveling. Everything is traveling. Everything is traveling so fast. So the more you understand the direct locations into 1 to 2 line center location, gets you in a better position of directions. This helps you in all ways and forms how to really set signals. Because I guarantee you, once you understand more levels of you, or understand the calculation streams and how it recognizes everything inside you, you get a better line communications with your system, better communication at track centers, better information to its calculation system, all direct location. So, And there's only 12 DNA line centers you stay with right now. You don't go across location of 13, 14, 15, all the way up to 25 because you don't know how to communicate to your number sequence patterns yet. So the first thing you got to look at to create anything through mainstream is to understand the 12 DNA track locations. So I understand one, or do I understand two? But I'm trying to figure out three. But three is the operational location of the sun, right? So if three is the operation of the sun location, so that means four is what? Four is trying to bounce over positive line connections over pi, which comes into five. Five is the bounce communication to everything line connection on scale. 6 is the position location to reach in higher levels. 7 line communication is its realm of its portals. 8 is your infinity position location directions. And 9 is your line connections to levels of cleansing. And 10 position location in the line center, the galactic signature location of your families. High center location 11 is your universe and solar systems. And 12 is your line, divine line connections to your country systems. All through 1 to 12. Hoo-ah. So understanding that first gets you a better connections to your system. All through harmonics. Okay? Harmonics weighs on every central line. Second per second per second per minute per hour per day. So the day it starts off, that's harmonics. Harmonics. Everything in rhythm patterns, harmonics. Harmonics. Everything's harmonics. So you have to understand all levels of what first? The energy. The equal line center location to its mass of calculation. Where is it coming from? Is your determination. Are you picking these things up through balance and frequencies? Do you understand your 12 line center location of code signals, the location of your 12 line center numbers? So that helps and always informs. Okay? Starting with your 12, and then you go with your 12 of your symbols and your shapes. Okay? And then you come into your symbols. Symbols are a lot more fun. I like symbols because they come into more line center locations, into your level locations of galaxy connections. Right? Symbols are so much communication coming from line connections. Right? Different communication, right? Different communication. Right? It's never ever the same. So that's three communication as three swirl line centers of Fibonacci sequence swirl line connections in position into a triangulation. All through an equal line connection. That's all it is. So to simplify it is to understand why you're doing this. What is the importance to communicate with a shape? To get information, people. To actually get information to its calculation system is all levels of Newton center. So if you get a calculation system with a triangle, there's a triangle, right? Triangle, but see, if this is the sun line communication, the moon line center rotations, but if you get really, really close, you can see the box realms. So the triangle is communicating with the box realms of the paper, right? Which is three line communications. So you got 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, and 3 lines in calculations. 1, 2, 3. Right? But why is there 3 on the top? Because the line communication is coming line communication into bounce communication to its sun. Sun comes into light codes of communication, sets line centers of line connection to graph line center rotation interference location to its pyramid communication system. Direct location is calculation system. Hoo-ah. Right? There's the intelligence. So that's the importance you guys have to really understand all through codes, all through numbers. I really want to get more depth of that. Okay. So we got 54 line centers, and let's set position, circle location, channel lines. Let's get you out of 5 line centers and 12 locations. 12 line center, 11 location of 10 position of 9 position of 8 line center location of 7 6 position of 5 balance position location of 4 line center location positive line center times line calculation of pi position location trifactor high center and position timeline. 3 communications back and balance communication line center location of high system. 2 position location of security line center line connection of 1 line center back and zero gravity line center rotation calculation. Team is not back. All back through sequence. All through codes of 0 to 12. So do you see how powerful you are? What you can do and always inform just from inside of you. Okay, all through numbers. This gives you a better understanding, guys. It really gives you a better understanding why you're so powerful. It's the how you're so powerful. It's the full operation of you to understand calculation. Okay? So, as of tomorrow line connections, we've got a busy week locations. We're going to go through shapes. Okay, I just want you guys to get a foundation how to use your 12 lines just through your code signals. Tomorrow we go into shapes, and then we go into symbols, and then we go into letters. You guys really, really have to learn how to set up your data stream line center interference and all position location to your own matrix grid centers into its commanding system. How to use it all through your mainframe, right, is all connections to your cloud system, right? You only have 24 line centers, which is 1 day line system, to communicate with everything all at once. And everything that you see has its determination of information that's given back to you. And then you really understand what 7 means and always inform. Okay? So I will see you guys on Zoom. Adios.